Mystic Michaela's spiritual family. Welcome to Know Your Aura with Mystic Michaela today. Has your child ever said, there's a man in the corner of the room and no one was there, or told you they saw a color around you, or perhaps spoke to you about a past life where they had children of their own? Today we are talking about paranormal experiences with children and how to react to them, when to worry and when to deal with it accordingly. But first, hey, Scotty.
Hey, guys.
All right. So have you ever, think back. And I want everyone to think back. Okay? Everyone listening, we're all thinking back to when you were a kid. Because
it's hard for me. I can't really get past.
It's hard. Yeah.
You know, I have problems thinking before like junior high.
Some people have blacked out their childhood for lots of different reasons.
Yeah. I have good reasons.
That's hard. And that's hard.
Yeah.
And we laugh because otherwise we'd cry.
Right.
But anyways, if you can.
Okay.
If you can, think about, because you all were more sensitive as children. I'm going to talk about why later. You all were more sensitive as children. What experiences or moments or standout events that thinking back, you're like, okay, that was a little weird or paranormal?
Yeah, for myself, I mean, I did see Hat Man.
Yes, we talked about that.
I believe I saw Hat Man.
Shadow, yeah, from the Shadow People episode.
Right, so I've told that story. You know, nothing really stands out too much to me.
Okay.
I mean, but again, like I said, I really can't remember too much before, I would say, junior high school.
Okay.
I have a hard time remembering. I know with our kids,
yes, when
they were a little bit younger, they've had more, and Abby maybe a little bit still, but Bree, is a teen now, so.
Right.
But I remember Bree, when she was young, constantly with the colors.
She was so great at doing auras.
You and her would just see, match up all the time.
Yeah, we just talk about it all the time.
Yeah, you'd always, basically every single time I'd ask you what the colors were, and then I'd ask her.
Yeah.
And I would say it was like a 90s, maybe 95% accuracy rate.
Yeah, well, we just agree.
Yeah. So Bree did. Abby, over the years, has said things. And
really? Yeah.
Yeah, saw things. We can talk about that in a minute.
Yes. So
I know our kids have.
Yeah.
It's tough for me. I'm a bad example because, like I said, I don't remember much. I know you have.
I've seen dead people. I lived in a haunted house. I've told this story. I saw the woman who was haunting the house. She had died there.
Right.
I saw that. I saw colors around people my whole life. I've had lots of experiences. I think I wanted to do this episode because a lot of parents get nervous and concerned. Because sometimes with these sightings or these experiences, it depends on how your kid's reacting to it. So It could be, am I worried about something wrong? Is there a medical event? Is this something I need to talk to a professional about? And I would never tell you not to do those things. But what if it is paranormal? Because to me, that is a logical explanation.
Sure.
I have to tell a story.
Okay.
All right. So this happened to a friend of ours. They had 2 daughters, and they moved into a new home.
And that could be before I started to cut you off for a second, but when kids move from one place to another, does that make them, let's say, put them in a frame of mind or make them more susceptible to a paranormal experience or psychic phenomena?
That's a great question.
Yeah, because
that happened to Bree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, because you're moving, and that changes your, it's difficult for adults sometimes to move. I don't want to move. I do want to move, but I don't want to move.
Right.
But when you put a kid who's, let's say, 3, 4, 5 in that position, and they know one thing, now they move to another place, does that open them up to maybe psychic phenomena more? I don't know.
100%. Yeah. I didn't even think about it that way. It would open them up.
Right.
And also the entities that may exist in the home want to introduce themselves.
Correct.
And children are very susceptible to be connected to in between portals. And that happened to Bree, and we've already told that story.
Right.
Where there's a little boy that used to occupy the house, and I hope he's gone.
We got rid of the bed.
we got rid of it. It's gone. That was a whole other story. We've told that many times.
All right, let's hear about the
So
friend of the family.
This is a close friend of the family, and they moved into a new house, and they're settling in. It's like a lovely house, and the daughter says, their oldest daughter says, I heard a gunshot in the middle of the night. So of course the parents are like, oh my gosh, a gunshot. Holy cow, and she's having anxiety and there's a lot of stress accompanying it. She's really stressful in that room and because this is her bedroom. And they investigated and there was like no gunshot, you know, and this kept happening.
And she's the only one that heard it.
She was the only one that heard it.
Okay.
Nobody else heard it. Right. And they were like, well, we don't know. And she was getting like really stressed out with it as well, because she's a sensitive kid, really stressed out. And also the room itself felt just sad to her. So they were like, is she okay? Is she just adjusting to the move? Like all the things as parents, they're going through their mind. Like, what do we have to talk to somebody? Like, what's happening? Why is she hearing this? Come to find out, I would say a couple months later, the neighbor fessed up to what happened in the home.
Oh.
And the prior owner had died by suicide, self-inflicted gunshot wound in, guess what room it was?
That room.
Her bedroom.
Her bedroom.
And as soon as they put this together, you can immediately get like chills. Like, oh my God, is it evil? Is it bad? But what they did was, because we were talking during this whole time, I'm like, just get a candle, like, you know, light the candle, acknowledge this person's presence. He obviously passed in a very sad way, you know, and they did. They had this whole kind of just closing ceremony. They included her and they're just like, you know, go to the light. We're a happy family. It's going to be okay. We're going to fill this house with love. Never had a problem since.
Huh. Never since that.
No.
It cured it.
No. And I'm going to talk about this a lot of times, like anxiety comes with connection from the other side because our bodies get stressed out. When we deal with it, or we don't know how to deal with it, so our bodies can go into like a reaction that's more physiological.
So we've been in their house. Just a question. I don't know if you did or not. Did you ever go into the room before or after?
Yeah, I've been in there.
Oh, did you ever feel anything?
The house to me, just because the family that moves in, they're very homey, like a close family. So I felt, and I feel like this person who they moved in, the way that I felt like she knew she needed to wipe it clean and add her own vibe. And she really did that, like in practical ways. The house to me felt like, I don't know, like it was, but it's funny because what I would call just normal, a lot of people might be like weirded out by, you know, to me, it felt occupied, but it didn't feel negative.
Okay.
But every house that I usually walk into, or anytime, I moved a lot growing up. Every time I'd walk into a house, it takes time to kind of like cohabitate your vibe with the vibe that already exists there. There's always energy in these places. There's always energy in houses. Okay. And just because they didn't end happy doesn't mean it wasn't bad. It doesn't mean that it's bad or it wasn't good, you know? So it felt occupied, but all houses feel occupied to me.
All right. Now let me just play a little bit of a skeptic role here now. All right. So there's a story also with Abby.
Yes.
You know, seeing... Well, I'll let you tell the story. Okay. And then, you know, I'll maybe take a little bit of a more skeptical stance. Okay. So tell the story and then I'll give my take.
So Abby was, I want to say, was she 6 or 7?
Around there.
All right. And her bedroom window looks out to the front yard. So you can see when people pull in the driveway from her bedroom window. And she came over to me and she's like, Poppy, that's what the kids call your dad, their grandpa, Poppy. Poppy is outside and he's waving at me.
Right.
And he's wearing all white to me. Now Poppy's alive and well.
That's right.
So the three of us are like, oh my God.
This is it. I'm like waiting
Here it is.
Right. I was waiting for the phone call.
Abby the harbinger.
Right.
I wanted the doctor to like be on top of it. It would have taken him out.
Right.
You know, I think I'm really bad with medical stuff. Didn't he need like a triple bypass surgery or something?
I think it was quadruple.
Was it quadruple?
Yeah, I think so.
I think he went in just kind of like he was out of breath or something. And then they had him in for surgery like immediately that day, later. They admitted him immediately. And that was several months later. So here's my not skeptic role.
Okay.
I feel like she was getting kind of like what could have happened because it could have taken him at any point. Like, luckily, your mom's so on top of him, dragging him to the doctor all the time that they caught it. But this is several months later. So you can give your skeptic role now.
Okay. So, I mean, we do live in Florida. Mm-hmm. There are older people walking by probably all the time. Yeah. Could have been anybody. You know, like, half the time I'm like in the grocery store. I'm like, oh, there's my dad. And I'm like, oh, nope. That's just another guy.
There's just a lot of old men wearing white around here.
Yeah, they all look the same. Like pretty much every. I mean, you don't know how many times I thought like, "Hey, there's my cousin," or my dad. And it's just like, nope, that's not them.
Never mind.
Yeah. So I mean, I could see possibly someone who was like older walking by the window. Although we live in a more family community, so there's not as many. It's not a 55 and older community, so there's less of a chance of that.
Convincing.
She was so convincing of it. I mean, I believed it at the time.
Yeah, we were like,
I truly thought we were getting the phone call. That
it was also around his birthday.
Yeah. Oh, yes, it was.
And
right.
we were like, okay, we're going to get him the good birthday gift because we're like, we got him like a really nice
we got him those
gift.
nice AirPods.
We got him AirPods.
Like, he wasn't, for some reason, he wasn't allowed to buy these things on his own.
Yeah. So
okay.
Rebirth.
I mean, and again, they're not that expensive. I mean, what are they, $120?
They're like $120 or something.
Yeah. But he couldn't have those. Like, he wasn't allowed to have them.
Right.
But I guess we changed his life when we bought them and got him Spotify.
He actually lost them. Did you know that?
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh. So was he allowed to get another pair?
No, I gave him a pair of my old ones that just plug in.
Okay. Maybe we'll get him another pair.
We should.
All right. So, I mean, yes, it did happen. You're saying it did happen.
I wonder
X amount of
if it
months
was
later.
like higher self being like, hey, in case this, it doesn't work out, bye.
See, to me, that's a little stretching.
Okay.
To me, it's just a little stretching. It could have been.
I can understand that.
It could be.
And that is the thing with kids.
Right. That's the thing with kids.
You do not know sometimes.
Right. Because like every kid, majority of kids, I should say, have an imaginary friend. You know, Abby had Bob Gerald, ghost Bob Gerald.
He died. He was 43.
Right. She was very convincing.
Bob Gerald has a Netflix account.
He still has a Netflix account that I pay for.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's part of our family plan.
Well, yeah, but I'm still paying for it. If you divide the plan by 5 people. Okay.
And Bree and I went on Bob Gerald's account the other day just to see if
if watches.
Yeah, like if we're gonna get like really creeped out. No, it's okay. We got scared.
Like he wasn't watching.
We were like, what if he's real? Like we thought he was real. Like
that'd be funny
if
he had
talking to somebody.
He had things he'd watch.
Yeah, he was watching like the true crime stuff or something on there.
But we don't get rid of it even.
No.
It's still there.
He's Bob Gerald.
And Abby had a whole thing about this guy.
Oh, yeah.
Everything about him.
Oh, yeah.
Used to talk about him in detail.
What he looked like. I have her on video talking about it.
Right, down to his age. Right, you said his age at
43. He died at 43.
Yep, Bob Gerald's 43.
Yeah.
And again, you don't know, did she make all this up? Or was there truly this Bob Gerald character? But like most kids, I would think, have, I'm sure parents could tell a story of the character. Right.
Normal, yeah.
So that's where kind of...
Well, kids play with the other side. I feel like the kids play with other side perceptions and kind of put in their own playfulness on it, like a spin. But in these little stories they tell, there's little nuggets, I feel. There's little nuggets of truth, nuggets of, the in-between.
Right.
Holds some things.
And I think, even like pets. I don't know,
Oh, yeah.
Even with pets, like you see them staring at something.
Yeah.
And you're just like wondering, what are they looking at?
Yeah.
And, and kids will always come and tell you, like our kids used to always come and tell, Mom, the cat's looking at this.
We just have this going on now. Yeah. Abby's telling me in the bedroom with all the issues.
Right. So
no, it's really true. Well, animals, they see through the veil.
Right.
We're very limited because of our physical bodies.
Yeah.
Like we don't have all the senses. It doesn't mean that not everything has more senses to see things. I think when you're a kid, you have less limitations of the senses, and animals do too.
Okay. And I guess that was going to be my question, but you kind of answered it. So like, why do kids lose it, and at what age do they kind of lose it? Like Bree kind of, I think, now has lost it.
Yeah.
She's more red in her
she's very red.
thinking.
Yes.
So roughly what age would you say, and this could probably vary, but what age would you say kids like kind of tend to lose that thinning of the veil?
And I'm going to talk about why they are so adept at connecting to it, but this is good. Like, when do they lose it? I feel like what happens is you get some sort of mental shield at a certain point. To survive in this world, you got to put up an ability to connect. I feel like our need to connect socially with our peers is way more important than connecting with the other side in a lot of ways. And so it's kind of like, all right, life is for the living. We got to do things. You got to go to school. You got to do this. So the practicalities of our physical world. We got to eat. We got to do this. We got to go here. We got to run to the store. We have to go to school. We got to make money. That kind of stuff. It just kind of builds up your mental shield, and you start just kind of eliminating the stuff that isn't essential to the actual survival of this lifetime.
Yeah.
But some of us are. You're all able to open it up and crack it open. That's why I wrote the psychic workbook. You really are able to.
But it just, there's so much constraint.
It's hard.
On the average person.
Honestly, even me, it is hard. It is really, really, I can really present as normal, but as you know, I'm not. Like, I can present as a normal person for like short bursts of time, but it is hard to be so open.
Yeah.
Like, it is hard to feel this stuff all the time. It is hard. You don't feel like you're here. Like, your energy doesn't feel like your own when you're kind of melding with the other side a lot. Like, after readings and stuff like that, I need to, like, okay, I got to feel like myself again. I have to, it's almost like I got to stitch myself back into my body again.
Yeah.
It's really, really hard. And I think that's another reason why we lose it. It's a lot of energy to connect all the time. And it can open you up to, it's hard on your system. You can get weaker. You can get sick. You can get, there's things that can affect you emotionally. So I think it's just for survival. I think that's why you kind of lose it.
Yeah. All right. I know I did play the skeptic role here, but I do also want to say that I actually do believe that kids are having these psychic phenomena and experiences. So I know I did play the skeptic role, but I actually do believe. So if your kids, that's what you're going to talk about now. So if your kid is having some sort of psychic experience, paranormal experience, you're going to talk about how to handle that and what's going on.
If your kids are like mine, they're way more interested in getting out the door and playing or doing their things than sitting down and having a healthy, balanced, nutritious meal. And especially with summer, you know how routines are off, meals are on the go, and that makes it almost impossible for me to make sure my kids are getting all the vitamins they need every day. That's why I'm so excited to introduce you to Beam's Kids All-in-One Super Powder. Beam Kids is packed with over 40 essential nutrients, including greens, fruits, vitamins, pre- and probiotics, literally everything kids need for healthy growth, strong immune systems, and steady energy throughout their day. It's pediatrician formulated, third-party tested, and co-created by Olympic gold medalist and mom Shawn Johnson. And the most important thing, it tastes good, okay? I do not have to pressure my kids into drinking this. They actually just go down. I'm like, get your Beam. They mix it themselves into their milk, drink it, and move on. And it feels like they did something good. They've launched a brand new chocolate chip cookie flavor that tastes like dessert and works like a multivitamin. My picky eater asked for seconds of greens. Let that one sink in. And now's the perfect time to try it because Beam is offering an exclusive deal for my listeners. For a limited time, you can get up to 35% off plus 2 free gifts when you go to shopbeam.com/KYA and use code KYA at checkout. That's shopbeam.com/KYA and use code KYA up to 35% off and 2 free gifts. So much less stress, better nutrition for your kids, no more arguing over veggies. Get yourself some Beam Kids Super Powder and have one less thing to worry about this summer. What do you do when your child tells you they see a ghost, or they start telling you about their past life, or they tell you that something is bothering them at night in their bedroom? What do you do when your dog is barking at the wall or your cat is always staring at the corner? I wanted to make this episode as, my goal for this episode is it gets out there and helps people who are like, what do I do? When especially with children, it's not something that is a mental health condition. It's something that you feel is happening. What do you do? And I wanted, there's not anything out there that really explains it in a grounded way. So I'll attempt to give you my take on all of it. Now, just a preference. I am not a mental health specialist. I do not, I don't work with children. I'm not a child development specialist. I'm not a medical professional, nothing like that. And the other thing is, obviously, like, I believe in all those things, and there can be things wrong. There can be something else going on. So I just like to preface that in that, that's not my specialty. And this is going to be from my take as somebody who has seen things her whole life from childhood till now, has children of her own. I have 2 girls, And I've dealt with like spirit entering into my life into a way where honestly it's very normalized for me. And I know the difference between spirit contact and, a mental health crisis. For me, I know that. So this is something that you're getting my take on it. And I just want to make that clear because I always value and prioritize the opinions of medical professionals. But this is for the questions I get seemingly endlessly in my DMs and emails. My child is telling me they see colors around people. My son started talking about his past life. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? So here you go. Let's talk about just with kids why. And I'll do animals too. I'll because those are our children too. And I'll talk about them in a minute. But let's talk about kids. Kids, and the younger they are, there's like a magical age. I think it's like 2 to 6, 2 to 7 maybe, where a lot of times with kids, they're leading with their empath color. So just to bring auras into it, we have aura colors, they're energy colors around us. Yeah, usually everybody has at least one empath color, which is purple, blue, indigo, or turquoise. And everybody has at least one. When you're a kid, you're usually leading with that. That aura energy is also much easier for spirit to latch onto. It's more of a portal color. It's the one that can get through the physical reality into the more spiritual realm. So that's, I feel like, the first reason. Second reason is they haven't shaken off their energy from their other form yet. So when you come here, you're a soul in a physical body. When you're a child, you are more connected to that. As you get older, as we see with those who have privileged enough to be old, and we are around them and we see them kind of go back into that energy, so you really see how the body is just a temporary house and the soul has purpose and life of its own. And when you're a child, you're closer to that. So I feel like that's another reason why kids have an easier time connecting with the other side. And also, and this is just, I guess I should have started here. There is another world. There is another realm. There is another dimension. That is to me, I believe it. Okay. To me, it's like the grass is green and there is another side. Like there's a place your energy transfers to. And that is real. And that is a place where a lot of energy of those you've known have crossed over to. So I'm talking about this today just on the basis of I do believe that we go somewhere when we die. And dead people are very, very interested in your kids. If you never, just because grandpa didn't meet your kid, it doesn't mean he's not very interested. He wants to know him. He wants to be around him. Kids are portals, which is why we have to be so protective of them and their energy, but also why a lot of curious ancestors want to be around your kid. I will tell you, and it's really scary overall, but 9 times out of 10, maybe 9.9999 times out of 10, it is whatever is going on. It is a dead relative, meaning no harm, visiting your kid. Or it can be somebody very curious who is kind of sharing space in your home, like a spirit attached to your house or your living situation, also very interested in your kid. And by interested, it's just like, oh my gosh, you'll interact with me. This is cool. Like that. So yeah. And I really, all right, this could be a crazy psychic lady episode. We could be heading there. So let's talk about specific things that I do get DM'd about a lot. All right. My child says they're seeing a man who looks like my grandpa, or they're describing my aunt, or they're describing my mom, and somebody who's passed. So let's say your child is describing somebody and you're like, oh my God, it sounds like my mom. Couple things. Ask yourself, does it feel like that's something that this person would do? This person on the other side. Do you feel like that's something they would do? I say this a lot in a lot of my mediumship episodes too. People are just people. When you cross over, you're just people. Okay. They're not scary. They're just dead people. They're just people who are dead now, so a lot of the times their personalities will reflect in how they come through still. So if your child is laughing at something or mentioning something or noticing something about them or saying, grandma said I should do, like that, or they play with me. It's like, well, is that something my mother would have loved to do? So ask yourself that. The other thing you got to ask yourself is, does it feel like that's what it is? Because your first initial reaction might be, who it is. And then it's always going to be replaced by fear because it's your kid, right? And then also ask yourself, do I talk about them a lot? Am I bringing them up? Is this something that is because when we bring, how do I put it? The energy of those who've crossed over is very attracted to maybe memorabilia in a room. Or if you're telling a story that they used to tell you, or singing a song to, at nighttime, a lullaby that they used to sing to you. They're very attracted to things that you do that kind of bring them to, like, memory, love, nostalgia. That kind of thing will definitely make it easier for them to show up. So ask yourself, like, what am I doing that kind of ties them into this? And honestly, again, as long as there's so many times, my baby's laughing in the crib at nothing, or, my son told me that grandpa's playing with him on the floor, or little things like that. Like, if you are hearing this, it's something that I personally just kind of knee-jerk reaction believe, because it just makes sense. It just makes sense that they'd want to know your child in this way and interact with them while these babies are still able to see that other side. And then this is where I have to also take a little segue, because I'm a mom too. And I think what we worry about as parents is my kid seeing things? Are these hallucinations? Is there a problem in the brain? I'm not just Mystic Michaela. I'm a crazy worrywart mother. I'm always worrying about everything. So you can trust me. If you've thought it, I've thought it. Okay. Are they schizophrenic? That did run in my family. There's, is that a brain tumor? Are they breathing in some sort of chemical? Is the pesticides getting to them? What you might totally. And I would never tell you discredit it. You know what I mean? That's back to the beginning. I'm not a medical health professional. We should always trust that stuff first. But then you got to ask yourself, are they eating? Are they happy? Does my kid appear okay otherwise? And if the answers are yes, you can kind of trust your gut a little bit. But let's say they see something that they're not happy with. Let's say your kid, and I get this a lot, saying, oh, there's a woman in my room and she's bothering me. And you're just like, oh my gosh, which I've gotten people have told me stuff like this all the time. And it's usually something attached to the house or a dead person on the other side who is a little awkward with their interactions. They do not know how to appear in a normal way to a child. Or maybe your child's just particularly sensitive towards it and they don't like the feeling. When dead people come around, by the way, there is you can get an anxious feeling, and it's not their fault. It's just they shift the vibration in the room. So it can cause anxiety in your body. Your actual physical body will react to it. Just like if you were to go really high up in the air or, do something that your body's uncomfortable with. Sometimes when dead people enter your space, you can feel that same kind of uneasy feeling or anxiety. So if your kid's very sensitive to that energy shift, they might be scared. If they're not happy about it, then it's time to, you're the parent, set boundaries. Like I said, these are just people. Okay. These are just people. You can tell them, no, you do not appear to my kid. This isn't happening. Get out. One of my favorite things to do is, because I had an incident in my own home, you have to slam a door really, really loud and just say, get out. And in your biggest mama bear voice you have. They're not evil. That's the only thing I just really want to bring up. And just because I always feel like the voice, I have to be kind of the protector of the dead people voices. They usually don't mean anything by it. They can just think about it. Maybe Aunt Sally was a little pushy in real life and she's a pushy on the other side too. It's kind of the same thing. There are visiting hours, Aunt Sally. You can't do this at 10 p.m. when my kid needs to go to sleep. Okay, out. If you feel like it's connected to the house or something like that, you can do lots of different. I'm Catholic, so I always go to my Catholic skills, which is, and I've done this in my own home and it works. I hang my rosaries up. Kids still have rosaries hanging in their room, light a candle, go to the light, bye. okay, whatever works for you, kind of make your own recipe of protection. And the whole message just being, it's not the things that you do that get rid of them. It's the way that it empowers your own energy to be like, stop it. So you have that ability and power. So if they're scared, they might just be reacting to, again, the vibrational shift that comes when a dead person is around you, because it does make you feel stuff. Now, here's another one I get. Kids that see colors around people like me. So I do get a lot of parents, a lot of moms like, oh my gosh, my son's saying he sees pink around me. My daughter says her teacher's yellow. Is she okay? Or, her eyes. And of course, I always say, I'm a mom, get those eyes checked, make sure, again, and it's really hard because sometimes if you drag them to the therapist right away, you know what I mean? Or the doctor, what are they going to do? They're going to be like, oh, well, here's 8 zillion tests, And so that's why I'm saying, like, you got to use your best judgment, of course, and be like, okay, how serious is this? When I saw colors around people as a kid, okay, for me, it was just the way I talked about it was just a curious, fun, like, okay, like thing. Never scared me, never stressed me out, felt very natural to me. So if you notice that your kid's saying they're seeing colors around people, but they're just like having fun with it, it's natural, they don't seem stressed out about it. What's the trouble with being like, hey, yeah, cool. Draw a picture of me with all my colors. I want to see, just like, whatever, man. You don't have to feed into it, but you also don't have to like, you're not, what's wrong with you? Like that. So it's just kind of like, okay, like kids say all sorts of stuff. I think with kids, especially when they're your own, you can, when they're fabricating versus when they're serious about something. And even if you have a 3-year-old, if your kid is, I see grandpa in the corner versus, they're making that up, or it's like their imagination, or it's real. Like, you can tell. So you got to kind of trust yourself. Same thing with colors around people. So yeah, I think that's kind of, everyone's always nervous. Does my kid have a brain issue? Does my kid have an eye issue? It's like, well, go get that checked out if you really feel like you need to. But honestly, it's not hard for kids to see auras. When I talk about the way I see, because I see aura colors maybe different than if you have studied auras in any other realm. Like, I see them kind of my own mystic Michaela way. And I've spent a lot of time associating meanings to them so that I can teach people how to do it for themselves. I do notice that I correlate a lot with kids. Like, I do notice that what kids kind of see, I'll be like, oh my gosh, yeah, like that. Like, it's very similar. To me, kids, I do feel like see auras the way I do, which is in an like kind of a life energy and a force, and having a lot to do with personality and soul growth and soul identity. So I feel like, kids see you, and they do. They do. If you've ever been around kids or you have kids, you're like, oh man, they really deliver some truth, like very straight up. They just see things very clearly, and they see energy very clearly as well. How about this one? Your kid is having prophetic dreams. So your young child's telling you, oh, I saw this happen, and then later it happens, or they're going on and on about their dreams, and you're just listening, and then they might even tell you, I fly in my sleep, I visit here, I visited there, I went on a journey, I was outside. It can kind of start freaking you out because, again, I'm a mom too. Are you sleepwalking? Is somebody talking to you at night? Is your window shut? Is all sorts of is somebody giving you ideas? Are you trying to tell me something because you're a kid? You're making it like a dream. Like, what is going on? I'm the same as you. I just get as worried. But I will say that with kids, their dreaming is extremely. Their guides work with them a lot when they're sleeping. Little kids, they sleep really deep, and they're really able to communicate with their own spirit guides and also their higher self. So like their soul identity. I feel like kids get a lot of life purpose energy while they're, in states where they can really hear it and see it and play with it and understand it, meaning they're young and then they're sleeping, so they can really get worked with at that time. And kids can astral travel, which means it can feel very real for them. And you might even have remnants, I know I do, of dreams from when I was really young that felt real. Like, you couldn't tell me now that didn't happen. I'm like, but it felt like it did. I would remember waking up from dreams being like, did I just do that or was I sleeping? Like, that's how real it can seem. And nightmares too, all that kind of stuff. So a lot of the dream and the sleep stuff, if your kid's having like these issues, could work its way back, if you're talking from my world, that they're doing a lot of development in their sleep. And I honestly feel kind of the more troubled they are with their sleeping, it can mean, or the more, bad dreams or their issues, or like the more visual, they have a major third eye ability, meaning they're probably really good visualizers. They're really good at seeing the beyond. They're really good at psychic clairvoyance, like precognition, things like that. They might just be working it out. And, their little human brains are still trying to help house this really old eternal soul. So the communication can get a little bit stressful sometimes. And I feel like that can show up in prophetic dreams. Okay, but how about this one? My kid is talking about their past lives. I hear about this all the time. Now, here's the thing. We even did an episode about it like forever ago. We all hear these crazy, amazing stories about these kids that were like, I was a World War II fighter. And then like they can totally prove it. Like they have details no one else would know. We've all heard that. But I would say it is very run of the mill. It is very normal to have your kid say something and you're like, what? And this is usually like 2, 3, 4 years old. And they say stuff and you're like, excuse me? Like the way they say it, you're like, that kid was not making it up, that they can get very upset or stressed about something. Like, well, I used to have babies, or you used to be in my belly, mommy, or my husband died in the war. Or they can just say something and you're like, where the flip did that come from? And if that happens, my thought is, without stressing them out, just be like, oh yeah, what happened? Oh yeah? And write it down, because they're going to forget it. But it's an interesting thing to have a bit of a memory about, or a bit of, well, that's interesting because, or when they have their own kids, by the way, too, and your grandkids are going through this, if they so choose to have children or whatnot, you could be like, well, you used to say this, so this is interesting. It's something that's worth, I would say, mentioning. They're going to forget it. It's going to be fleeting. And it's something that is, it's extremely special. So instead of getting all true crime on it, like, what was the name? What year was it? Just take a look at these pictures, like stressing them out. It's like, I bought the encyclopedia from the whole entire year that I feel like you're talking about. Here, let's go through. And they're 3 and they're like, I don't care anymore. I said that like once at breakfast. I feel like, just get out of it what they will in a curious way. And when they're done talking about it, be like, cool. Overall, with all these things, your reaction to it is so essential in their acceptance of it long term. And I feel like that is something where we have the most power and control as adults in these kids' lives, saying, if we're like chill, like, okay, no problem. Okay, nonchalant. Okay, whatever. Okay, cool. Tell me about it. Not denying it. You don't have to affirm it. You can just listen, and just embrace it as it comes, and then being chill and calm and not all like, like that. I feel like that definitely allows them to have confidence to continue. I will say that about myself growing up. When I would say things to my family, it was just like, yeah, obviously. Like, because everyone in my family is like cool with everything I do. And they all have their own gifts and have had their own experiences. And it's run through my family for a lot of generations. It helped me not be all weirded out by it, honestly. So that's my advice to you. That's what I do to my kids too. It's like, okay, cool. And you'll see, like, they'll either grow up and kind of reject it, or they'll grow up and, keep going with it, whatever. But it's on them to kind of figure that out. Just makes them not feel weird. Final one. And this one's a little interesting. Sometimes I'll get people saying that their kids are seeing religious figures. Okay. This is where it gets a little interesting. A family member, I'm not going to say who, but a family member growing up, when she was like maybe 3, she would tell her parents, I see God. God tucks me in at night. Mary tucks me in at night. Jesus tucks me in at night. A lot of like, or I was playing on the floor and Jesus was with me. Now, we grew up, my family and extended family, very Catholic, and there was a lot of emphasis on Catholicism and the religious figures. And it, if you kind of grew up religious, sometimes it's a little bit like, it's a lot. It can be a little bit like, okay with the imagery, like they really, especially around Easter, like we're really hitting this home, and it's like, okay, like a lot of like religious stuff kind of combined with stressful imagery too. Anyways, so she would always say this, was she seeing those things? I would never want to say like, no, because I would never want to discredit somebody's, whatever they're saying, especially if this was my kid or something. But I feel like a lot of times like kids can superimpose what they know on top of what they don't know, just like we all do. So if they're seeing an entity around them, they might associate it with, oh, that must be Jesus, or like whatever it is that, if you're very religious or you grew up in a certain way, like you can kind of affiliate it with that. So just kind of like, I guess like wrapping it in a package that's understandable. But at the same time, like, why not? I feel like a lot of the energy of religious figures, no matter what religion you're part of, are encased in a lot of love and roles of caretaking and protection and safety and security. So we as humans have names for those, and different religions have different figures that represent those. But maybe a child is latching on to a vision that they're seeing or an energy that they're receiving with something that is familiar in their daily world. I guess the next thing is, okay, so these are, I guess my tips for you are, don't freak out, listen calmly, don't interrogate them. Obviously, look to the medical if you feel like that's necessary. Ask yourself, is my kid happy, healthy, otherwise? Yeah, they seem fine. Okay. And then my last thing is like how to protect them. Okay. So it is very important. We have these children, and how do we protect them? So they're like little bubbles of pure energy. They don't have a lot of boundaries, kids. So you're their boundary, for a while. And I think a big thing is, in caretakers of these little lives, is reminding them that they can be their own protector. So like I said about when there's a pushy energy around you, whether they're living or dead, you're allowed to say, no, I don't want to play right now. This is not the time. Go away. I do not want to see you. You can give them words. You can also do things with them. Like maybe, especially if it's somebody who's passed, well, let's plant a little flower for grandpa. Let's draw a picture for grandma. Okay. Like you can do little things like that to connect, or it's kind of talk back spiritually. And it's a nice little thing, and it gives them power and control and makes them feel in control. Same thing with like the aura colors. We'll draw a picture of what you see, or, tell me what that means, or why don't you create with that? So like, I think art stuff and giving them the power and letting them take the next step and giving them words helps them feel in control. Like this is something that they have control of. And I think, yeah, the biggest thing is they can say no, and they can say go away, and you can too. So that is what you do if your kid from my neck of the woods over here, if your kid is giving you these questions and stressing you out, like these are my tips for you. But what if it's your cat or your dog? Now, here's the thing. Like whenever I love having animals, because my whole life, whenever I felt something off, I immediately look to one of my pets. And it's like, if you doubt yourself and you have a pet, like look at the pet. Because every time I felt something, I've told numerous stories on the podcast, every time I felt something or been like, am I making this up, or what's going on? The cat's acting weird too. Or when I was a kid and I had a dog, the dog was acting weird. So let's say you have a cat that's like staring at the wall, and you're like, what the flip are you staring at? And it's not a bug. And you're like, what is going on? And, this actually happened in my house the other day. My cat was staring at the wall in my kid's room and just staring. So not like him. He's not even like a hunter. He's basically, we call him the prince. He just lounges and looks cute, and that's his purpose in life. But he was like staring intently. And I could just tell him like, Binks, what is up with you? Like, what's going on? And then I'm like, because I am normal, I promise. I'm like, are there rats in the walls? Because, oh my God, Florida, you guys, it's a whole other thing. Like, I'm like, is there a rodent in the wall? This is one of my Florida fears. Like, are there snakes in the walls? Like, so I'm all stressed out, but I don't hear anything, but this is also the bedroom that we've always had issues in. So now the cat's acting weird in here. To be continued, because this happened last week, but I always feel weird in this room, and this room is always a little off. So could be something, but I think like if your dog or your cat is acting weird, just believe them. I say believe them, and then like watch for a pattern and make sure that you don't have rodents in the walls. That's my biggest other one. I would love to hear about what your kids say. What do your kids say? What have you experienced as maybe you remember things as a kid? Did it scare you? How did it feel? Did you have good experiences? Do you think looking back that they were good experiences? They were just colored scary because you didn't know what to do, or you felt that shift? Love to hear all about this on the Mystic Michaela Spiritual Family Facebook page, because this podcast is for you and about you, and we're so glad that you spent some time with us today.
Shopify's point of sale system helps you sell at every stage of your business. Need a fast and secure way to take payments in person? We've got you covered. How about card readers you can rely on anywhere you sell?
Thanks. Have a good one.
Yep, that too. Want one place to manage all your online and in-person sales? That's kind of our thing. Wherever you sell, businesses that grow with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 a month trial at shopify.com/listen. Shopify.com/listen.
Hi, I'm Richard Karn, and you may have seen me on TV talking about the world's #1 expandable garden hose. The brand new Pocket Hose Copperhead with Pocket Pivot is here, and it's a total game changer. Plus, your super light and ultra-durable Pocket Hose Copperhead is backed with a 10-year warranty. What could be better than that?
For a limited time, you can get a free Pocket Pivot and their 10-pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size Copperhead hose. Just go to getcopperhead.com. That's getcopperhead.com for your 2 free gifts with purchase. Getcopperhead.com.